Hi, I'm Ari DeBrun, and I'd like to talk to you about nightmares. I think uh, I think my fascination with nightmares started off when I started watching the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. That was probably the most. I probably watched that franchise, the Nightmare on Elm Street thing, the most out of all of the different movies that I've ever watched over time. So the nature of that film and the way that they displayed nightmares in on the television screen or the movie screen just kind of opened up the imagination for me, really. Uh, it was of the horror genre, and it opened up to my mind two possibilities. I mean, they weren't exactly enlightened possibilities, but they were still possibilities. I'd like to talk about nightmares that I had as a boy. So when I was going on a road trip with my mother, I think we were staying in just rural Victoria, western Victoria, and we were staying off in a town, and we stopped off at this hotel or motel. We were staying in separate beds, of course, and I woke up from this nightmare and I could remember it vividly. I was back at my childhood home, and there were serial killers on the loose. And the serial killers in this nightmare would pick one house out of the neighborhood and go in and explore it. So in this nightmare that I had, people were coming in, and the lights got switched out. It was basically like a home invasion. So in this home invasion, my parents, my family got killed, which was really terrifying. I think I was probably about 12 at that age, and I ran out to the backyard, and there was some kids that I used to play who lived in the house at the backyard, and I ran over to their family, but then the serial killer caught up to me, and then it was like a reveal of a movie, and it was the reveal of Hitler. So it may have been something that we were studying, or it may have been sort of conversations with my grandmother who lived during the Nazi occupation of Holland during the Second World War. It could have been something like that. So now I'd like to talk about real-life nightmares. Real-life nightmares. What actually happens in real life? I mean, there are really horrible things that happen in real life. History has proven that. You just have to look at the newspapers and see all the bad news. There's murders in the world every day. There's wars. There's all sorts of problems. I mean, we're living through the COVID epidemic right now, and that's got a death toll of a million, just worldwide. So but the most common nightmare that I would describe as a nightmare would be having your dreams crushed. Having your dreams crushed as a boy. It's part of growing up, and I think that's kind of, in essence, why we have nightmares, because it is sort of preparing us for the world. It's our own biological connection to it. It's biological hardwiring, preparing us for horrors that we face in real life. And as you grow, you get a sense of being of the world, and there are things that are frightening you, so when you actually come into frightening moments, they're not as frightening when encountered. But yeah, the most common nightmare for everyone is getting their dreams crushed. Having to face the realities of the world, as a human being living in it. I'd like to talk about the mythology of sleep and dreams. Now, Hypnos was the Greek god of sleep, and he had children that were called Onerai, who were in charge of dreams and nightmares. So basically his children were like his underlings, and they would go through people's dreams. Hypnos would induce sleep and prepare them for sleep, but the Onerai would actually deliver them the dreams and the nightmares. Now, the science for nightmare. A nightmare is sometimes associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder, if you've ever lived through a hard event in your life, or a frightening, something that often causes trauma. A nightmare is seen as a symptom in science. It's a release of all the negative energy that has been building up in your life, and you just have to expel that. So your mind with sleep is usually trying to process your dreams and information and all of these things, and dreams are the best way to do it. So I would say a nightmare is the best way to process negative tension. It's negative tension and negative energies in your brain. So you can, it's a bit like reliving the trauma, but it's processing it on a deeper level within your own consciousness and psyche. Now, the nightmare that I have as an adult, this is a weird one. I suppose one of the reasons why I had nightmares as a kid was because I was abused when I was younger. But the nightmare that I have as an adult is turning into the abuser. I think that's a really frightening experience to have. To consider that as an adult, I would grow up into the people that abused me. I guess the best way to avoid that nightmare from ever coming true is staying as productive and able as possible, keeping myself busy, keeping myself focused on different projects and new events that come along, so that I keep myself occupied and never let myself become what I fear the most.